Hello, folks. So in this video, I wanted to talk about food, right? Especially overeating. So in these few months that I've actually moved out of my house and come to a new place for work. So I used to be in Chennai and now I'm in Bangalore, Karnataka, in India. And I've noticed that food has been like not an easy thing, and I noticed that I was eating at the wrong times and whatnot, and this kind of led to overeating in general. And like whenever I was hungry, I think overeating because of hunger and also in terms of like, I think emotional eating, like stress eating and stuff like that. And also because food was just tasty, and the other thing being food was healthy also. Some food, for example, I was eating roti dal every day, and the roti dal in my hostel is, for example, very tasty and very nice. And roti is okay. I mean, like it's a very simple dish. I don't see any unhealthy parts to it. It's healthy in the sense that it's not unhealthy and it's basic. And dal, yeah, it's lentils and also, I mean, it's there are different kinds of dals. So most of the dals here are actually great. So simple food, but then I started overeating to the extent that I was feeling very full, and this caused to me feeling sleepy, and not, I was almost getting paralyzed by overeating. For example, I couldn't do anything after overeating. Like I will just sit, or I'll feel very sleepy and immediately end up sleeping. I'll try hard to stay awake, and if this is at work, sometimes overeat at work. For example, eat different kinds of dishes because I'm just hungry. I didn't eat from morning. I skipped breakfast, for example, and then I directly eat lunch, or I had a very light breakfast, and lunch. I'm just looking forward to it, and I love the food. Food is very tasty and whatnot. I came to realize that I was eating for the taste and how healthy it is. For example, veg salad bowl, mixed fruit bowls, and then eggs, and then paratha, dal, rajma, all of this. Like I was like trying to eat all of them. I'm still trying to understand how I can actually have the whole letting go and not trying to eat all of the stuff. And if I am eating stuff, then try to eat very little of each. And usually, when you buy, the quantities are high, so it's not going to be easy. So I try to ensure that I don't overeat in general. Um, and uh, and I also came up with rules. For example, at my hostel, the food is like unlimited, like free. So I realized that when the food is free, like I just went for it. Like it's not really me. I let my emotions control me instead of me controlling my emotions. Like it's free food and it's tasty. Free food, tasty, not unhealthy, and to some extent healthy. So I just went ahead and overate. So and this was happening not just in hostel, and like even at work. Let's say the dinner was free, and sometimes I ended up doing that the same thing there. So I realized I was noticing the patterns, noting down and observing the patterns and learning from them, and realized that I make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and I still do. Even today, for example, I ended up overeating in the morning once, and I also noticed that I also learned more about overeating. Like it happens when you are, say, you could be hungry for multiple reasons because you are stressed out, or because so emotional eating, stress eating, and all, or you're just sad and you want to feel good, or you just want to feel good in general, or you're just looking forward to food, like good food, or you just love food too much. Like I'll talk about how you have to be aware of and be aware of what you love, and or even like who you love and all, and beware of what you love, and who you love and all. Be wary of it. I'll talk about that in a separate video. But you have to be very careful when you say that you love food. The reality is you just love the taste of food, or you just love the feeling that it gives you, um, and like the health that it gives you. But if you just associate like food, love, and all that, then you might just end up uh, having a life wherein you live to eat and stuff like that. Live to eat versus eat to live. I am someone who is trying to eat to live because for me there is more to life than food, and I'm still trying to figure out what is that more to life. So food is just part of my health part, and food is to help me just get energy. So I noticed patterns. I noticed why I was eating food and things like that, and why I was overeating. Say this free food part, like the combination of I noticed the free food, a not unhealthy food, tasty food, hygienic of course, and all that, and then a bit healthy. That's all. I was overeating, so fortunately I was not overeating junk. But some food it was a bit of junk because in the sense that it was oily, like in hostel or in at work. Some gravies, some kinds of food were a bit oily, right? And then I was eating a lot of rice also, like not a lot of it, but to some extent, rice and like white rice is not so great. It doesn't have too much good stuff and all. You can go read about it, and it is also very satiating and it makes you feel very full. If you eat white rice to some extent, and if you feel full, then you can't eat other stuff. So for this reason, I don't generally eat white rice or potatoes and all. Very highly satiating food that don't have much nutrients also, like protein, carbs. In white rice and potatoes have carbs, but in protein, fat, fiber, and all that. So not too much of them compared to the other kinds of food that I eat. So I realized all of this, and I was like, I started making rules like don't eat the hostel food. Actually, I broke the rule today. That's the problem with when you make rules. When you are the creator of rules, you can also probably break it. So you have to be aware of that also and try to ensure that your systems and habits are actually in a good way, and you don't have to use your will. Like if you read Atomic Habits, you don't have to bring your willpower every time. Ensure that you can actually use habits and environments and whatnot to ensure that you are able to maintain your habits and good systems and good some things that you can do towards your good goals, and ensure that your bad stuff, bad habits and whatnot are taken care of, not because of pure willpower, but instead because of systems and processes and habits and also environment. So one of the things, for example, I noticed was if I go to the PG hostel, the hostel cafeteria, then I might just end up overeating. So sometimes I didn't even go there initially and all. Nowadays I go there, but I just eat what I ordered from outside. But yeah, I need to be careful. For example, today I did overeat because I skipped breakfast again. That was a problem, and I was like the usual thing. Like I had these reminders every day. Now I stopped them because there were too many reminders. Like I had reminders 4 times a day. Like morning 8, afternoon 1 p.m., and then evening 6 p.m., and then night 8 p.m. So the reminders, there were like at some point there were like 50-60 reminders every time. So same set of reminders. So it was like around 240 250 reminders in the whole day. Some point I just didn't even see them, and it just always piled up and just became like a set of notifications in my notification bar saying 250 reminders are there and you haven't seen it. No alarm or any sounds, but it just reminds, saying things like don't overeat every hour and things like that, or things like say no to overeating, say no to extra food, or if you feel a bit hungry after eating a bit, maybe wait and then eat. That I didn't do today. Like I waited to some extent, but not too much. I gave in to my urges or impulses, I don't know, and I overate a bit the hostel food apart from the outside food that I had ordered. And I also noticed patterns like so overeating at hostel and overeating at work was something that I noticed. So I was like, say no to free food in general, right? And practice saying no to hostel food. I didn't do that today. It was a mistake. And the thing with me is once I start eating, then it's like hard to stop eating. But then I'm also learning to stop and try to understand. There's also this idea of 5 second rule wherein you count 5 seconds and then you just stop or do whatever you need to do, like stop or start or whatever, like say start making a video, YouTube video, or stop overeating and things like that, or walk away from the place, the environment that's causing a problem, say overeating and whatnot. And it's important to mindfully also eat, so not talk to someone or see your phone and all. I wasn't seeing my phone and all today. I was talking to someone, but I was mostly mindfully eating, but maybe not enough mindfully. Like understand the texture of the food that you're eating, taste of the food, you know, how it looks, right, when you are going to put it in your mouth and whatnot, and stuff like that. So just mindfully eat and think about the food and nothing else, and focus on the food, right? So I try to do that most of the times, and not look at TV or not look at my phone or whatever. And if I do look at the phone, I stop eating first and then look at it and then stop and then move on to eating. If I need to look at the phone for some reason, say a call or whatever. And so I also learned about the bad problems with overeating. Say blood sugar level spikes is one thing, I think, because a lot of food is just going in, like a lot of sugar and all that. I think there's that, but there's like many other things. For example, it can cause a lot of health problems in general. You can go read about it, and also apparently it can cause problems like one moment. I think I'm getting a call. Let me pause this. Yeah, I'm back. So the overeating, it can cause problems when it comes to see your digestive system. So I used to write down my reminders saying your digestive system will cry if you overeat, and things like your digestive system will struggle if you overeat. So that is the reality. It will struggle because it's trying to process a lot of food, right? And then things like I read that your digestive system has enzymes. So when your digestive system is like digesting the food, basically the idea is the enzymes are supposed to absorb the nutrients from the food, and it's going to be hard for it to absorb the nutrients, and especially apparently there's a lot of food, so it has to break down all of that food and get the nutrients. It's going to be hard, I think. Go read about it. And I also read that it can be hard to say absorb some pairs of nutrients and some kinds of nutrients, because the nutrients will fight each other, and the enzymes will basically not be able to absorb all the nutrients, and they'll be just say absorbing one or the other and things like that. So it's better to have a balanced diet and try to just not overeat in general. And also, yeah, as writing things down, like it was really bringing a lot of problems for me, overeating. Like overeating brought in guilt, a lot of guilt, and the reality is guilt serves no purpose. It will just make you feel bad. Does it change behavior? Not exactly. You have to put in the action to change behavior. Just the emotion of guilt will not. So guilt, shame, and it was also actually making me disappointed in myself, because I had rules. I still have rules, but today I made a mistake and I was like feeling really bad. Today also, like morning, I overate a bit, and I had rules like say I didn't put this in my reminder, but I had rules like say eat only after every 2 hours or so, or like 3-4 hours, depending on how much I eat. Ideally, it was 4 hours, so just 3 meals per day and eat every 4 hours. But the thing is, I need to start eating early in the morning, but I was always starting my first meal only at like say 11:30 or 12 and whatnot. So that was causing everything to get pushed, and even my sleep time to get pushed, because I was eating, say, if it was 12 the first meal, then 4 o'clock the second meal, and then 8 o'clock third meal or something like that, and then sleep at 10, 11 and whatnot. 10, 11 is fine, but then I was sleeping still later. Sometimes it wasn't exact because food availability and whatnot. So I was eating pretty late, and so yeah, Those were some problems. These days I eat every 2 hours or so, depends, but I don't eat too much. I eat just enough, but I eat a lot of protein, so it does make me feel full. And I also try to drink a lot of water because water is key, and water also helps with overeating, like ensures that you don't overeat. But the tricky thing was, I had read that if you eat and if you drink water immediately after eating or before eating, and you drink a lot of water, which I do, I was over drinking water. That was also a thing that I was doing. So, like drink 1 liter of water at once every hour or so. Every hour is fine. So I think I even checked it out. Maximum water, how much can you drink? 1 hour, 1 liter or something, 1 point some liter, 1.3 or some liter something. Very rarely do I drink more than that. But anyways, and I had rules like, okay, let's just drink less water, but drink water every 15 minutes or so. Say 250 ml or 150 ml every 15 minutes, and try to drink 1 liter in an hour. But I haven't followed that quite in a while, for quite some time now. But generally, I just drink up water and then ensure that I don't overeat. But then I was again feeling full and I was just paralyzed. So yeah, overeating was also literally just paralyzing me. Once I remember I overate so much that I just couldn't sit, walk, move, like move even a little bit, and even couldn't sit or lie down facing the sky. Anyways, it was really bad. I had overeaten too much. The food was really tasty, and I just overate. It was a bad idea. Very bad idea. And there's like different kinds of food with the different kinds of satiating levels, right? So it's important to understand what makes you feel satiated and what kinds of food causes bloating, gas, and whatnot, right? So that's also there. And especially if you overeat oily food is harder to digest apparently. So that's also problematic for your digestive system. Already it's going to struggle to process a lot of food and digest them, and then now you actually put in oil in it, and then it becomes harder to digest and whatnot. And then the sleepiness and whatnot. I was working and then feeling sleepy during the day, sleeping in the evening, taking a nap and whatnot. It was not really great. I was just not feeling like I was moving anywhere or doing anything. So it was very bad times in my life. So I really don't want to go back to that. So overeating was really not in my plan. Of course, it's not there in anyone's plan, anyways. Yeah, I mean, I actually even noted down every time I overeat. I noted down in my notes saying overeating journal, this day, when did I overeat, what did I overeat, what happened, right? Where did I overeat and whatnot, how much did I overeat and all that. I even remember noting down my thoughts before overeating. Like if I knew that I was going to overeat, I was writing down my thoughts and trying to understand what are my thoughts when I overeat, like what makes me overeat. I remember having thoughts like, for example, hey, I didn't eat enough, so I need energy, or I can overeat, or I can eat a lot. This idea of like I can eat a lot was actually wrong. I can't eat a lot. That was the reality. Though it seems like I can't, like, because once I eat a lot, then I become like I'm rendered useless because I just can't move or do anything at all, like think or do anything at all. So I really can't overeat, or like I really can't eat a lot. I was just kind of like proudly saying to some people I remember long ago that I can eat a lot and whatnot. No, I can't. And if I do eat a lot, and I show that I can eat a lot, I'll just become nothing almost, because I'll just be like just still or like sleeping. That's all. Yeah, I can't eat a lot. That's the reality. And even though the food is great, food is healthy and whatnot, and it's lovely and whatnot, no, can't do. I can only eat so much, and I need to ensure that I get the nutrients that I need and the energy that I need. Nothing more, nothing less. Because too much of anything is also not good, and less is also not great. It'll make again. I remember when, in cases where I was like under eating also, or like not eating at all. I was like, I overate yesterday a lot, so I'm not going to eat much today. Things like that. Or I overate the previous meal, so now I'm not going to eat much. And I'll feel full, but I'll also feel a bit hungry and whatnot. So it was very tricky. The ideal thing to do is eat small meals, frequent meals, or medium-sized meals, and a bit frequent meals. Not too frequent, but not too infrequent also. So that's the key. I try to maintain it most of the times. I think in office it's easy because food is always paid except for at night. In hostel it's tricky, but most of the time the food is not great, or it's like not that healthy. And I don't eat rice, and they usually have rice, and then they have roti and dal. I try to just not go for it at all. I'll remember that again, and I think once in a while I just make the mistake and it happens. But and yeah, I look forward to the day when I move out of the hostel, and I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna overeat in the hostel, because now I'm not in the hostel. But yeah, get out of the environment itself. But as of now, hostel's been okay because I very rarely stay in the hostel, spend time here. And then yeah, I mean, I noted down thoughts of what's happening before overeating, what's leading me to overeating. I had written it down and understood the patterns, and then try to understand what's wrong around it. And a lot of times I actually made the right choice of like not eating and not overeating. And I also understood that I overeat sometimes to not waste food. Let's say I already bought some fruits, vegetables, then I end up forcing myself to eat them. Recently I've been trying to not do that and let go and be okay with wasting food and stuff. I had some long ago I used to stock up some hostel food when it's good, because food is not always good in the hostel. So whenever it was good, I used to stock up and put it in the fridge. But then I used to stock up too much. Then that was also causing problems. And I was like, I won't waste food. I'll eat it. At some point, even if I stocked up, I was like, hereafter I won't stock up. Whatever I stocked up, I threw it away in the garbage and whatnot. And so I was trying to choose myself over choosing food or not wasting food and stuff like that. Though I'm a strong believer of not wasting food, in which case I try to first of all not even stock up food or take food in the first place. I ensure that the food I take into my plate or take up is very less as much as possible. And I just feel like it's fine to eat less than to eat more, and you can find food somehow and eat again in some time. It's fine. I keep forgetting that, I guess. Anyways, but I do know when I'm making a mistake usually, and I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I find some way or the other to trick my mind, I guess. It's important to be mindful when you actually are tricking yourself, or lying to yourself, or I don't know, not lying, kind of like not realizing that um, it's not very true, or it's like doesn't make so much sense, or you just don't know yet. For example, it takes quite some time for your stomach to actually inform your brain that you're actually full. So say it takes 15-20 minutes, so you have to wait actually after you eat to understand if you're full. And apparently you can actually feel hungry when you're even thirsty. So it's important to eat, like drink, like say liquids, say water, milk, whatever you want. So I drink water usually, and there are different ways to you know fight overeating and ensure that you don't overeat. I try to look at my patterns and also use water, for example, to, but not too much water, but just enough water to ensure that I don't overeat. And I've also learned recently that even if you drink too much water before eating, it's kind of fine. I was talking about it, right? I missed it in between. A lot of long thoughts, long trains of thoughts that I'm missing, but all are related. So if I drink too much water before eating food, it's fine to some extent. Though I read that it will dilute the digestive juices, which is the acids, the stomach acids. So when you dilute the digestive juices, it can actually be a small problem, but not too much apparently. I think long ago I read that it can cause problems in terms of like absorbing the nutrients, the nutrient absorption from the food, but not so much apparently, it seems. The same for while eating the food and after eating the food, but it's good to actually just not over drink also the water, but just drink to some extent, understand what your body says, what your body is feeling. And yeah, I also realized that I was having thoughts like, are we actually slaves of our tongue? Like, are we eating to satisfy the tongue? Like, it tastes good, but the reality is it tastes good only for some time. I keep forgetting that also. It tastes good for say a minute or 2 minutes or say 5 minutes or whatever, for a minute or two usually, but very rarely a bit more than that. And then that's all. Like, it enters your body and that's all. It does make you feel good to some extent, but for example, junk food can make you feel good a lot, like, and there's sugar and whatnot, but not for long. That's very short term, and it actually has more bad effects than you think, in terms of like junk food and sugar. Nope, not good for you. So go read about that, like sugar and whatnot. I'll also make videos on it, like what I've learned and all. And yeah, habits stay. So when I kept overeating, it just kept happening. So it's not easy to break, but I tried to break it, and most of the time I broke it. Recently, I've been doing great in terms of like breaking the habit. And what else? I think at some point I was even avoiding, like I was telling, right? I was avoiding the hostel cafeteria. I think that was me being scared, or like me feeling like if I go to the place, then I'll overeat, like things like that. And if you're scared, there's also this. So there's two sides to it, right? One is Atomic Habits talks about how you need to ensure that you don't end up in an environment which actually, uh, um, helps you get into a bad habit. For example, say you don't get into the aisle in a supermarket which has chocolates, in case it will actually make you buy chocolates and whatnot. But that doesn't mean that you just keep avoiding that aisle, because at some point, let's say you do end up in that aisle somehow, right? Then you might just buy it. Then are you saying that anytime you end up in the aisle, you'll just buy it? So this is the other side to it. Are you scared of it? Are you running away from it? Then are you saying that, for example, if I go to the hostel cafeteria, then I'll surely eat the food there and end up also overeating it? So it's important to practice the other side of thing also, is what I felt. It's a bit against the idea of atomic habits thing. So this is a popular idea in psychology, psychiatry. It's called exposure and response prevention. It's actually a popular thing in terms of like apparently for treating OCD, wherein if you're scared of something, and in general you can use it. If you're scared of something, you expose yourself to it, and you ensure that you're not scared, and you keep exposing yourself to it again and again, and ensure that you prevent the response, the fear, or whatever ritual you perform and whatnot. So I sometimes just go to the PG hostel cafeteria and practice saying no to food by seeing the food and saying no and whatnot. Though it can be tricky at times, your mind will be like, hey, I could just eat this and whatnot, but you basically consciously make the decision of like, hey, no, I'm not going to eat this because it's not good for me, or things like that. For example, it's going to lead to overeating, or it's just not worth it because there's better food that I've ordered and I can finish that off, and I don't want to eat this also. I don't want to overeat, and so yeah. And what else? And yeah, I mean, I keep getting this idea of like, some people talk about how if you respect yourself, you wouldn't actually mistreat yourself. I think it makes sense, but it's also a bit of a very strict, or harsh, a very critical or rude idea, in the sense that it doesn't mean that if you say overeat, for example, which is a mistake, doesn't mean that you don't respect yourself. Exactly, you make mistakes, so maybe you disrespected yourself by mistake, maybe, or things like that. So it's important to be empathetic over there. And we will also talk about courage. I've read books like, for example, Courage to be Disliked and things like that. You need courage to be actually be able to say no to things. People talk about willpower. Atomic Habits completely says about how it's not about willpower. You need good environments, and you can't bring your willpower all the time. And he talks about the science about it also, I think. But to some extent, you need some courage, willpower. But how much I don't know. But you can actually practice it and whatnot, I think. So, but to start off, be empathetic with yourself and learn, understand where you are. If you are in a very vulnerable state, ensure that you're not using willpower and all that. And even if you are like in a good strong state, you don't have to probably use your willpower all the time. But be smart and understand your patterns. If you're overeating, or if you're doing some similar mistakes, like similar to overeating something else, whatever, in terms of food or whatever. So yeah, in my case, I was either overeating or undereating, like not eating at all. So, and I was always thinking that it's hard for me to just eat a bit and then stop. But I also come to realize that some kinds of food I don't even have to eat a bit, because, well, it's not really great. I could experiment, that's all, but I don't really have to eat them even a bit. Like, I'm not so interested in food, or like I don't like or love food so much and all. Though it tastes good, I forget about the taste later. Later, when I order the food, maybe I look forward to it, that's all. I am very much thinking about something else, ideally. And there is so much to life than just food. I'll probably talk about food in general separately, about how a lot of people, and it's a very popular idea, like food. I know, like when I used to be in Chennai, a lot of people used to be like, nothing matters, food matters, that's all. I've heard people saying things like, dude, I thought life is all about food and sex, that's all. And like that's all matters. So that's not the case. Life, there's so much life. So today when I was overeating, I was realizing like I was basically fighting my own mind and being like, see, you live to eat? No. You it's hard to tell the right thing, and that too when fighting with your own mind. It's like, you live to eat. No, you eat to live. You eat to actually live. You don't live to eat, you live to do many other things and not just eat. And eating is just part of your life, right? Eating is just a basic part of your life, your biological thing. It's like a bodily thing that you need to do, bodily function similar to that. So you just eat to ensure that you're energetic and can live life in a healthy manner, so that you can do many other things. So you live to do many other things. So you basically, if you think of it as a sacrifice, you can think of it as a sacrifice, but you're not really sacrificing much and all. You're not even sacrificing anything. This is like how some people say, I gave up, say, smoking, I sacrificed smoking. And then you can see some authors who talk about smoking and stopping smoking. They talk about how you didn't sacrifice anything. The smoking does no good to you and things like that. I'll talk about that separately, smoking and all that. There are some interesting books around it also. I'm here to read them. I'm still surprised how people actually help other people stop smoking or stop alcohol, like, alcoholics, from being alcoholics and all that. How they help with addiction and all. Anyways, drug addiction, drug abuse and all. Anyways, different topic, different story, some other day. This is about this food, right? So, kind of food addiction, yeah. Overeating, or whatever you want to just talk about in terms of food and food addiction. So, a lot of people just think like food is the important thing. No, I think it's not the case. I think there's more to life. I'm figuring it out for myself, like what and all I want to do. For example, share my experiences like this, talk to people, share my knowledge, what I read, what I learn, share whatever wisdom I gain from people, from internet and whatnot, from things, from nature, and then from my experiences, what I learn and whatnot, and from my mistakes, especially a lot of mistakes, what I learned from them. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about all of that, and yeah, I mean, I think life is a lot of things for me. It's not just, of course, not just food. So I was just telling this to myself, and I was just overeating a bit. And then so I was eating rotis and dal. The last roti that I took, I realized that I was full, and I was like, okay, done, no rotis after this. And I still took that last roti and a bit of dal, but I was like, okay, I can see I'm done. Okay, I shouldn't just eat more than this. I should just move out. Though it is very tasty and I want to eat more, but I'm full. I'm done. I'm glad that I wasn't paralyzed, but I was full, very full. I was like, I'm very guilty. I ate a lot of dal, a lot of rotis. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then I was fighting my mind, telling about how there's more to life, and I need to understand that I need to compromise and not try to overeat, and instead be healthy and focus on other important, greater things in my life, and not just compromise on the greater things and instead end up eating more food, ending up spoiling my health a bit, which in turn will cause problems for my greater goals, right? Because health is like the base for a lot of things. You need to be healthy, you need to be good for you to be able to do other good things, great things. So I was just telling all of this to my mind and trying to just, you know, it's like it's like a court where it's like a court where you are the judge, you are also the um, you're also on both sides of the parties, wherein one is saying overeat, other is saying don't overeat, and you're also the judge. Anyways, so I was just telling all of this stuff, like there's other greater things in life. Don't think so much about food. And I was thinking about pros, cons of eating the food and like some kinds of rotis and whatnot. It was one of the parathas was a bit oily. I was like, okay, pros, cons. I want to eat more or less and whatnot. The cons are basically oily and whatnot, and pros were just that it had coriander, I think, the paratha. And I was thinking so much about food. It took up too much of my headspace. It just still takes over too much of my headspace. I'm trying to understand how to figure it out. But once I make so many mistakes and come up with a idea of like how to decide on things, I think it'll be very easy to make decisions and just not think too much about food. But yeah, in the recent times, food has been a problem in general, like availability, accessibility of food, and especially, of course, good and healthy food. And the whole overeating and whatnot, those kind of problems and timings and whatnot. Anyways, so yeah, that's all I had for this video, talking about overeating. I think I spoke about most of the stuff I wanted to talk about. If there's anything more, I'll make a part 2. That's all I had for this video. See you in the next one, folks. Bye bye. Oh, hi. Hello, folks. So I just missed to tell some more stuff about overeating. I just realized that. So overeating also causes things like heartburn. I haven't felt it, but yeah, like you'll feel like your here it's burning and all that. And of course, it will cause a lot of burping and all. Depends on what you ate, how is your system like and whatnot. And especially if you have other digestive problems, it's going to be like really problematic. Like I don't know, irritable bowel syndrome, like IBS and all that. And then it'll of course cause, I think, a lot of farting, because your digestive system is uh, like breaking all of that food, and depending on the kind of food you've eaten or whatnot, so bloating, farting and all that. And also, like, you'll just feel probably even pain at different parts of your body if there is like gas formed and moving around and whatnot. What else? I think I covered the other stuff like sleepiness and all that. Is this not great, man? This is not great. So I would just say overeating has never done me any good. Though food tastes great and all that, the tongue feels good and all that, and you feel your stomach is full and you feel like your heart is full or something. After some point, you'll realize that your stomach is so full that you can't feel anything. So yeah, say no to overeating. That's all I had for this video, folks. See you in the next one. Bye bye.